Yeah, all right. So I'm Susanna. I'm the games course rep for second year, and I'm very happy to be here, Gary. I'm glad we could organise this. It's something that's kind of been for the forefront of me. I've been quite like passionate about women being on the forefront of science. I just didn't really know how to start the ball rolling. So when you came up with this to me and you were like, "Hey, do you want to do this roundtable?" I was eager to just get in there and like, yeah, let's start this. So thank you for organizing this. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I'm Emma. I'm a second year computer science student, and I think the reason I really wanted to get involved with this in particular is I struggled quite a bit back at school with trying to get into computing, and I'm just really glad to be part of something that's going to be encouraging people to actually get involved.
Hi, so I'm Abigail. I'm a third year computer science student. Again, very glad to be here. Unlike Emma, my secondary school experience for computer science, I was always pushed into it. My teachers were very much like, you're good at it, let's get you to do it for A-level, do it for uni, encouraged for everything. I did a similar roundtable during my sixth form at school, so to be here and be able to continue this and be able to take what I learned then and bring it into this is just, I'm really glad to be able to be here.
Yes, I'm Lucy. I'm a second year computer science student. And yeah, I just wanted to get involved because for me it was, when I was coming into doing computer science, it was quite neutral. Like there wasn't really much sway for me. Like I wasn't really encouraged into it, but I wasn't discouraged either.
So this is the second of the third roundtables. It's intended to be an open discussion, and the aim of this is really to develop recommendations for the School of Computer Science to support and improve the Women in Science programme that the college is running. So this is the second of the roundtables. We will present one theme, and we'll have a great discussion around that, and then we'll have maybe 3 to 4 sub-theme discussion, and then the output will be collated and then presented to the School of Computer Science. And what's really great is that the College of Science actually invited us to present our recommendations directly to them. So it'd be great to collate these 3 roundtables and present. Really looking forward to that. So let's go through some of the facts. So there's a ratio of 55 to 45 of female to male students, and this is one of the highest actually in the country. However, women in computer science at the University of Lincoln is only 7. When we contrast that to other universities such as Manchester, who have 23%, we can see that there's that the female to male student ratio at universities like Manchester are actually a little less than at the University of Lincoln. So understand why the difference and what can we do about it. So I'm really to speak with you guys today to discuss this and to go through and to try and tease some of these facts out. So what's this discussion on? Well, today's discussion or today's roundtable is around the literature and prospectus. So we had a great talk last month around pre-university, and here we're just going to focus on some of the items that you would probably come across as you would enter your journey into the university and as you were going through the university stage. So there are 3 key sub-themes here: usefulness for perception of the course, design and intended audience, and then also language neutrality. So some of these topics may seem a little sort of, oh, what does this mean? But it'd be really great to dig deeper into that with you. So let's start. So literature and prospectus and usefulness for the section of the course. So you guys read the literature, and was it factored at all into your decision in choosing the university? Start, Abby.
Yeah, so it was definitely a factor when I was reading, like, obviously about courses online. So I definitely went to the website and had a look. To be honest, I can't quite remember what I read. I think I'm more focused on the names of the topics and what you'd be doing each year rather than kind of the set thing. But what I do remember is across the board for most of the courses, computer science that I looked at, they were all kind of male. I say male heavy. It was kind of, there was obviously lads in all the photos and stuff. It was very much, all the photos were like to do with the robotics and kind of that side of things. Not that that is a male orientated thing, but they kind of like, there were boys with the robot arms, and there was, you know, the VR, it was lads. It was all very much get your hands on in it, and there was just nothing sort of kind of tailored to anyone else, but like, oh, you know, come in and you'll be stuck right in and you'll get and do all this, which is obviously they're selling the course, but from a looking point it was like, okay, well, it's just, you know, lads are playing with all these toys, where are we, and all this sort of thing.
Lucy, Susanna, what was your perspectives? Can you? I recognise it was a while now. Obviously, it's a year or 2 years ago. So, but can you guys recall what your perception was, or if the literature had a decision on your choice of university?
So I kind of agree with Abigail. It was mostly kind of, here's a picture of a guy coding, here's a picture of a guy wearing a VR headset, here's a picture of a guy working on a robot, and it was kind of like, okay, where's the picture of a girl doing something? But also a lot of once I actually got into university, once I got to the university, a lot of the actual literature we have to read as our recommended reading was male authors, and I understand that, you know, the books are suited to the curriculum, but kind of just going through the reading list and just seeing nothing but male names, and the books are kind of from a point of view of a guy in the video games industry, or a guy in databases, and usually there's a foreword in all these books about how, you know, they struggled in their work and stuff like that, and I'm like, it's not that it's one-sided, and I'm sure they didn't mean that way, but it does kind of read like, oh, I bet this wouldn't be my experience if I worked there because I'm not a guy. But yeah, that's just, I mean, there is a few female authors in the reading lists, and that's quite nice to just kind of see. But I kind of agree with Abigail that there's kind of like a saturation of just, look at all these men working with computer science stuff on like the covers and on the promotional material and stuff like that. If it isn't some abstract like computer science jargon on the cover, it's usually a guy working on something on it.
Lucy, I remember you mentioned that you applied for a different course previous to looking at the School of Computer Science. Did you catch at all the School of Computer Science literature, or do you remember seeing any contrasts to maybe other courses you were looking at to help you choose the university?
I do think it was definitely different for computer science, because there was a lot of, well, yeah, as already said, there was a lot of male photos, and as well as that, yeah, there was loads of like, even just, you know, quotes from students, like how they found the course. They were all male, whereas I know with other courses I looked at, it was more varied. They tried to get it like both sides in. Yeah, that was the main thing. Yeah.
And then, what was your perception similar? Did it have a bearing on your choice of university?
Well, so it's interesting because when I was applying for universities, I didn't look at any of the prospectus. That wasn't really something that I took into account. I was definitely more someone that wanted to go to the open days and actually meet the people that were running the courses. But you know, after, I know you sent a document comparing, you know, the different prospectuses across the School of Science, and having a look at that, I've actually noticed that, you know, I wonder if it does have a big impact on other people applying, you know, because like the others said, you don't see pictures of girls really. Actually, you know what, to go back on that, what I did notice was that you can see pictures of girls across the School of Science, but then when you come to computer science, it seems very much more male dominated. That's something I noticed. So I suppose going back now, if I'd had a look at that, that might have actually influenced my decision.
So do you feel that the perception of the course is coloured by the by maybe a university's prospectus?
I mean, when you don't look at you know, the fact that there are all these guys on the front. I mean, when you're actually reading it, I mean, you know, it explains what you're going to be doing. It tells you what you'll be learning. And at the end of the day, that's kind of what maths is really, I feel. You know, so I don't really know what else to say about that. I mean, I just think that, you know, reading it and everything, it doesn't really.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just went on the website, the University of Lincoln website, and I downloaded the 2022 prospectus, so people wanting to go to university now. And the computer science, like everything else that I've kind of looked at, like chemistry and business psychology and marketing, they all have kind of a mixture of men and women in the photos. And you scroll down to computer science, and it's just two guys working on a robot.
But it is my name under the quote, so there is some sort of progress.
Some sort of progress. That is your name.
I saw that the other week, and I sent my whole family a picture. I was like, oh my god, look, my name's in the prospectus for 2022.
Under two guys.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you know, the one for 2021, it's still a boys quote, so yeah. It's, you know, there's a step in the right direction.
It's a good step, yes. I'm just gonna scroll down and see games, see if there's what it looks like. E F. Yeah, it's also a guy using a VR headset. Do we have a? It's also a male quote as well for the 2022.
This is the new prospectus for the 2022 school intake, and this is for all the colleges in the College of Science. So what's your and that's the computer science and games computing and maths with computer science are across the bottom, and the top two rows are all the others, such as schools pharmacy, biochemistry, maths, and biology and so on. Is there a first impression that you would maybe take away from looking at this in this as we look at it today?
Yeah, well, for me, from a glance, obviously computer science and maths and computer science at the bottom corners, they both kind of seem like quite dark, like, you know, there's a lot of shadow, it's a kind of black around it, whereas like I obviously know that biochemistry and like pharmaceutical science, obviously the white background and stuff, which obviously lightens up the page, but even like games computer with the yellow, it's quite bright, whereas the other two just kind of, you look at it, it's like, oh, they're quite like just not standing out that much compared to the others.
Yeah,
not as like eye-catching.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that as well. They're kind of like obscured, but also like kind of just having like a glance at it, it kind of shows that there's a bigger problem, maybe not just in computer science itself, but kind of the school as a whole, because I think the only one there that has a even mixture is the biochemistry, because there's both a male and a female on the cover, but it kind of perpetuates the fact that, oh, it's mostly women that do like pharmacy and pharmaceutical and biology, and it's mostly men that do maths and computer science. It kind of perpetuates that stereotype, which like we would like more women in the computer science promotion, but I'm sure the few guys that do like pharmacy and biology and stuff like that, they'd probably want some guys on their covers as well, because, you know, that's just kind of the way it is. They're stereotyped in both ways. But I do definitely agree, especially the maths and computer science one. It kind of feels like, I don't know, it gives you the impression that like computer science and maths are kind of these like sequestered things that like can only be done in like a lab and by yourself in a dark room. Like that's the kind of vibe that it gives me. Like all the other ones are kind of like in a bright, nice environment. Like the biology one is really like bright and happy. And I think it's doing, like, the one thing it could do is just not include people on it. I don't know if that's a step in the right direction, but I mean, at least it's not like skewed one way or another. It's got a really pretty bird on it. I don't know.
Yeah, you know, I agree with the last statement you made about how it's almost like it's like polar opposites. So like the top half of those prospectus, they all have girls on, and then like you say, like a pretty bird, and then on the bottom it's just all guys in like a dark background, and it's almost like the top half. It's almost, I wonder how many guys maybe were put off by seeing so many girls doing that subject. I just think it's really interesting that.
Yeah, because the kind of gender skew goes in both directions. You know, there's some subjects that only like a majority of men would want to do, like, you know, computer science, or at least in our university by the percentages. And then there could be other subjects within the university or even within the school that have a predominantly like female-led student base, and we're trying to get that as much to like 50-50 as we probably want.
Do you find that this documentation or this literature is useful for giving you the right impression for maybe the mix of male and female students, or even allowing you to find more information around maybe the course mix or profile? Abigail, what's your initial thoughts maybe on that?
I'm not really sure. I think when I was originally first looking at courses and doing computer science, I kind of looked at all this material with the knowing that it's going to be male orientated. So when I looked at like the prospectus and saw, oh, it's just guys on the cover and stuff, I was like, oh, you know, there's probably only going to be a handful of girls anyway. It was kind of expected. It wasn't to be there. So yeah, so it was kind of like reinforcing what I already knew, and I kind of then looked at everything knowing that there was that skew was there, and obviously they were, you know, targeting the people that take the course, which is predominantly males. But like looking at it like this, it would be nice for it, you know, kind of follow the biochemistry side, but it being bright and having a mixture and kind of showing that, you know, it's not just boys that live in their rooms playing games and coding and stuff that take this course. You know, it's people that sometimes, not obviously the stereotypical computer scientists just sit and, you know, and hide out in their rooms, but bring it kind of into the light a bit more and show that it's not just for those people that do just sit on their PC and game all day. It's for those that, you know, enjoy a bit of sun on their skin sometimes as well.
It's almost like saying it's a bad habit.
Yeah.
You can look at the like maths and computer science one like a frantic guy that hasn't left his house in like 3 weeks, just writing on a whiteboard. Like, I need to solve this before I like see men again, like see other people.
Lucy, what would obviously for someone who is looking at other courses prior to computer science, as we previously mentioned, it'd be interesting to maybe get your perspective on this, what you would have maybe thought if you would have seen the maths and computer science or the computer science literature prior. You know, would that have maybe given you a perspective of the course, or is there like an immediate response that you might think, oh, this is something for me, or this doesn't look for me, or I don't feel I would fit in, or I would fit in?
Yeah, to be honest, I kind of thought, like, looking at it, it is mainly males doing it. Like, because you do, although you know it is mainly males, seeing the photos, you do get the impression more like, oh, will I fit in because there are going to be so many males there? Because that's kind of what it displays from the uni as well. Because I know when I've been looking at other courses, there's more like group photos, and it will be like an equal split of girls and guys, so it's a bit more like you feel like it's going to be more equal and you're more welcome to it, whereas this one's more like I don't know, it's more, they emphasize that it is going to be more males. So yeah.
And it'd be interesting, so maybe Susanna, do you feel that the that the presentation of the literature as we have it here for the courses for the School of Computer Science accurately reflects the course. Is it, or do the images imply an accurate reflection of maybe what you guys are experiencing on the School of Computer Science or in your programs?
So I think it might. I think you're kind of right. It does kind of reflect what you'd expect and what is going on. You kind of do see a predominantly male, like group of people in the courses. But I do think that including women in it would probably skew to be more realistic, because we're here, we do exist. There isn't that many of us, but we try our best to make ourselves known, through things like this. And like Lucy and Abby and everyone said, I think I looked at the prospectus when I was in sixth form with the knowledge of I could be very much the only girl doing games computing, and I am prepared for it. So when I opened up the prospectus and I saw, I think the 2021 or the 2019 one was the same image, I'm pretty sure. And I saw the computer science one, because I didn't know if I was going to do games computing and computer science at that point. So when I saw the games computing and computer science, I was kind of like, okay, I expected this. I know what I'm getting myself into. It's a shame, but I know what I'm getting myself into, and I'm kind of doing this so that I can pave the way for more girls, and maybe the next prospectus there will be a woman, and that's kind of the reason why I'm kind of sticking my head out everywhere I can, like, oh, take a picture of me, or oh, include my quote here, or something like that. Or I'll be a course rep or something like that, just because I want to be like, we exist, we're here, please pay attention to us sometimes, don't be afraid, there is a few of us.
It's trying to find ways to encourage like other girls, isn't it?
Definitely.
Trying to make them feel more comfortable.
Who do you think the intended audience is when you look at this this prospectus? Abigail.
For this, I mean, the bottom 3 rows are, kind of aimed at those students that, like I said earlier, the ones that are already interested kind of in it. They're the ones that have been doing it probably at school or at home. Like, I'm not even, the computer science one, I'm not even sure what contraption that they're like playing with there. I'm like, I've never seen that before. It's going to be quite a niche thing. It's like, maybe put something on there that either more people would recognize, or something that we might actually come across while we're here at the university and stuff. And whereas like the biochemistry one, they're obviously playing with the microscopes. Like, everyone's always on that course, you're probably going to see lots of them and use them a lot. It's kind of like, look, this is something that you will use and you will kind of encounter on a daily basis. Where I think the ones at the bottom, obviously maths, you've written on a board, you probably do that a lot. Of the VR, it's kind of very like, we've got it, but you probably won't come across it for a long time, or like that one in the middle, you wouldn't come across it at all.
3.
Yeah. So it would be nice to have, I mean, I'm not sure what there is to show other than, some students sat at a computer with some code on the screen or something, but it'd be nice to see if there was anything there that kind of go, this is what you, on a general basis, or you're more likely to see this come across or sooner, rather than something that, I finish in 3 months and don't even know what that is. It's kind of like, high expectations to get here and think, actually, I'm never going to see that in my life.
Emma, would you, what would your, who would you think is the intended audience when looking at these prospectuses, if you were to come from this from a sort of as a new student and from a fresh perspective?
Well, as a whole, looking at all of them together, you can definitely see like a broad range, of and one of the things that I didn't mention is like the ethnicity difference as well, between male and women. So like you not only see like a variety of men and women and female, but women and men, but the ethnicity is there as well. But when you actually break it down into the different schools, so when you actually get down to the school of computer science, it's like, you know, where's the diversity, really, you know? And I thought what Abigail said was really interesting, and I think Susie mentioned it as well, was you see them actually, especially the computer science one, you see them, you know, fiddling around with this I'm guessing it's a robot, and you don't really know what it is, and it almost adds like a sense of that whole not belonging kind of thing, the whole imposter syndrome. You almost feel like, if I don't know what that is, am I good enough for this? Is that, you know, if I don't know what that is, how am I going to fit in here, you know? And then topped up with the fact that it's two guys fiddling around with it, it's almost like, well, can only guys do that then? Is that something I'm not going to be capable of doing? You know?
Yeah. The caption on the prospectus in the 2022 prospectus, it says computer science students learning in the Isaac Newton building. It's like, what are they learning? How to look at a robot that we've never seen before? But it kind of gives the idea, at least looking at all of these pages as a whole, to me it kind of gives the idea of, oh, biochemistry, pharmaceutical science, biomedical science, pharmacy, they're all doing something important. They're all like researching, you know, they're all doing something that will contribute to like their career in the future. And then games and computer science are kind of like, we're just going to fiddle around with something, we're going to put on a fun headset and look at this is cool. But the intended audience wise, I think that the intent, like, I don't know if this is going to sound a bit blunt. I think the intended audience of the computer science one is guys or girls that have already set their mind, I'm going to do computer science no matter what. If I was in sixth form and I was contemplating doing like 3 or 4 subjects and I saw that, I'd be like, well, it's just guys. That's not going to convince me. But because I was already set my mind on, I'm doing games or computer science and nobody can change my mind and that's what I want to do in the future, I think that's why the prospectus kind of went over my head. It was like, oh, I don't care if it's guys in there. You know, this is, I'm expecting that. I'm used to that. I'm bracing myself for that. But I think if it was someone that wasn't 100% sure, maybe they're like, oh, I want to maybe do computer science, but maybe I want to do physics, or maybe I want to do engineering. I'm not sure yet. And they look at like all the prospectus pages. They're like, well, the computer science one has nothing but guys. Maybe I don't belong there. Maybe I shouldn't try that because maybe they'll just be guys. I don't know. That's kind of just my 2 cents thrown in there. I think if I was on the edge and on the fence between whether I should do computer science or not, that wouldn't convince me.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point. Lucy, Abigail, how do you feel about this? Does this prospectus make you feel like you would belong or fit in this School of Computer Science?
No, yeah, I kind of feel it's the same, like, especially when one of the main things I think is the colours, and that it is quite dark and just not very inviting. If you were looking through, it's not something that you're really like, oh, this is kind of something I want to do. It's, I don't know, it's more, yeah, if you already want to do it and you know what the course is, then you're likely to take it, because it doesn't, like, the computer science one doesn't seem very appealing compared to the others. But yeah, and then, yeah, it's just not very welcoming, like, if you're obviously looking through.
Yeah, I just reiterate the same point about like a colour. It's such a simple little thing, but you know, just lightening it up a bit, making it a bit more kind of eye-catching, and in your faces, like you flip through, I think would do, even with, you know, keeping the same picture, just brighten up, I think would be a world of difference, just because it catches your eye, and then you're more likely to read about it and go, actually no, this is something I'm interested in, or it looks a bit more inviting. You think, actually no, this is something I want to look further into, rather than just being kind of dull that you just kind of skip over it in no second thought.
Yeah, I mean, the labs in IMB are nice, bright, white labs. They're so big and open, and white, like, white walls and bright, like, you know, windows on the side. There's a lot of light coming in. I don't know why they chose the lecture hall with the lights turned off for the picture. Like, all the labs where we actually do our work and do the workshops are just so bright and white and, like, you know, I don't want to say comforting, but they're kind of open, you know. The kind of lecture hall and the dark lights and the like singular light on the like subjects in the image kind of makes it kind of feel isolating, and it's like, yeah, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like, you know, why don't they show pictures of people doing, you know, what you actually do on a day-to-day basis when you're actually studying? So, like, for example, you'll be in, you know, the labs for like 3-4 hours straight programming, you know, because when it comes to your programming modules, that's what you're doing the majority of the time. You know, so they, you know, they could even show like a picture of people sat in the labs with these, you know, like you say, these bright open labs, you know, coding.
Yeah, that's it. The Isaac Newton building is an entire building basically made out of windows. Like anywhere you walk past it, it's just window after window after window, and that does not reflect like the environment that we're in every day.
I think the only place that's windowless is the lecture theatre.
Yeah. So it does. It's kind of gone, you know, taken away what they've put so much money into building in this environment for us, and gone, you know, it's just this dark little room. It's like, but it's not, is it? It's this massive building that is just so open and refreshing, and it's just lovely to be in, and put it into this little black box.
Yeah, they did videos to kind of do like promote the different subjects, because we were part of those, and I did an interview for that. That was with Chris, and they took a lot of just footage of my games computing workshop just working, and they were lovely. They were just bright and open, and there was just people lining the labs, and you could see a mixture of males and females, because me and my friend Isabel were there, and you know, they made sure they took an equal amount of footage of just a group of guys working, and then a group of guys, but also the two of us, and then maybe the other women in the games. And they always made sure that the windows pointed at you, so it was nice and bright, and it was open, and it was really nice. I just kind of, that's kind of what I would assume to see, like a group of computer scientists working on something together, and it would be a nice mixture of like males and females, etc. I don't know. That's just what I would see. If I were to plan it, that's kind of what I would go for. Just like a nice, bright, open room full of computer scientists, kind of promote the fact that we're not loners. This is a community, you know, we can work together. And it would be a nice mixture of male and female. Or just go for the biology route and just don't include anybody at all.
We had a
yeah, a nice screenshot of code that no one understands.
Exactly. Instant placement if you can figure out what this says.
So, guys, I've got a final question before we move on to the next theme, and it has really come from what's already been mentioned, but I'll try and phrase it into something. The top 6 images all look like they're working towards the betterment of something, such as the betterment of society. The bottom 3 images maybe give a different impression. Do you think that's an important aspect, or do you think from a woman's perspective that needs to change, or do you think that is that something that's not important?
For me, I don't know if it's necessarily from a woman's point of view, but definitely from just looking. You know, you look at those pictures at the top, and you think, actually, you know, that's a skill that they can take with them. You know, look at a microwave, pipetting a few things, and doing things. Where you look at the bottom 3, and it's, you know, that niche VR is a very kind of small topic, or playing with that, again, that thing in the middle that we don't really know what it is. It's like, well, how am I going to use that in the future, or can I use that, you know, in the future in a job and stuff? It's kind of, it would be so much nicer to see something and go, actually, I can see myself using that in the job, or using that at some point in the future, and kind of, you know, a glance into the future of what, when you're there sort of situation. It would just, you know, I think make it a lot less intimidating to come into the course and think, well, I know computer science is this massive field and I can do anything, but it's nice to be able to pinpoint saying, this one skill I can put towards something. Whether I go for that or not, you know, is another question, but being able to see that kind of would be very helpful, or just nice to see, I think.
Yeah, just to kind of bounce off the point you said there, like looking at it, it kind of seems like, oh, the top like 5 or 6 are like, oh, it kind of perpetuates the stereotype that, oh, all computer scientists do is like faff about with random things and don't actually do anything productive. I think that's, if I'm looking at the whole prospectus as a whole, I think that's what it looks like. Like the biochemists are clearly working on something on a microscope, something important. The pharmacy one is clearly them giving out prescriptions, something, you know, important for society and working with the NHS and stuff like that. And then the games and computer science one is ominous people working with something nobody understands because they can, and it doesn't actually do anything to better them or better society. It's kind of like, it kind of perpetuates that stereotype that we don't actually do anything, but I know we do. There is so many important things we do as computer scientists and games computing. You know, games computing isn't just about like making fun games or something like that. I know a lot of people go for accessibility and disabilities and work with that, and that's really important in both the field of games but also wider software and accessibility in general. And we do more than just play games and like mess about with robots nobody understands. And I think that Prospectus isn't showing that. It's kind of like, hey, look, join computer science where you can faff about and do absolutely nothing but look at robots all day.
It seemed, I like what the point that you made, Abigail, where it does show skills that you can take with you, but the bottom row doesn't actually show any of those sort of aspects. That's an interesting point. I've not seen that before. I've not sort of perceived that in that sense. I'm going to stay on the prospectus, but I'm going to slide down now to the computer science one. And I'd like to move to theme 3, which is around language and neutrality. So thanks, guys, for the discussion so far and around design and intended audience, and also usefulness and participation of the course. It'd be great to talk around language and the importance of language within the prospectus and also within the literature, but specifically around neutrality and also debiasing. So this is something that can be often missed. So I'm going to give some examples around this. So adjectives such as ambitious, assertive, decisive, determined, self-reliance tend to be male-gendered. As well, words like connect, interpersonal, responsible, yield could also be seen as female-gendered. So maybe like a job advert or something such as a dominant engineering firm that boasts many clients could also be seen as male. And when you could compare this to, we are a community of engineers who have effective relationships with many satisfied clients, could also be seen as female. So there is a neutrality sort of basis on there. Do you think having a neutral or a debiased language is something that would be important to get more female representation in computer science? Abigail?
Yeah, definitely. Even for the sense of that neutrality, I think it takes away a bit of the kind of dominating, kind of overwhelming of, you know, it's very male orientated. It's very much, you know, I can't think of my word has gone out of my brain what I'm trying to say. But having that neutrality, I think, kind of breaks down the barriers a bit of there is that gap. It makes it feel like you're more kind of gonna fit in a bit better in a kind of community rather than a dominating field or things like that. Just you feel a bit more like you're gonna fit in like that community in a group of people rather than you are a lone person within, you know, working within. So I think it appeals to me more feeling like a community because I'll fit in. I'm gonna, you know, make friends. I'm gonna feel included rather than that you are a lone person working, because like, well, you know, I don't want to be a lone person working. I want to make friends and I want to join in and kind of feel included.
Yeah, you don't realise like how much you're influenced by subconscious influences, and especially when we're in a society where you just kind of assume that is how everything works. You kind of assume that men are seen as more maybe hardworking or more industrial or like assertive, confident, and all those things, and women are better when it comes to, interpersonal skills and, nurturing and all that. And I think it was a few years ago now, I had an opportunity to talk to the chairman of the Computer Science Society in Sheffield Hallam, and it was the British Computer Society, and I think we were both going to like a talk about equality within computing, and he came over to me and was like, "Oh, I'm so excited you're here. As a girl, I feel like it's so important to encourage women to get into this." And having worked in computer science for a while, you realise that you need more women to be in that workspace, and you need to be encouraging, the diversity. So having females that are nurturing and have interpersonal skills and all that, which I thought was really interesting, because I kind of just assumed that they all get on really well just being all guys, and they kind of do things how they want to do things, and it's fine. But...
Lucy, Susanna, if we were to look at this slide and look at career opportunities, it notes recent graduates have roles at GCHQ, IBM, Bloomberg, PwC, JP Morgan, Cisco, Sky, and G4S. Are these places of interest, do you feel, for women in science, or do you feel that these are maybe places where are more males go? What's your thoughts on how maybe the career opportunities are presented here? Is it reflective of maybe the opportunities that a neutral cohort would wish to see? Or?
So I would definitely say that just before I mention the career opportunities, the whole structure of the page very carefully makes sure that you say students, you don't use any kind of language to sway one way or the other to kind of say that the students are predominantly male. They don't describe the students as anything. But the career opportunities wise, I mean, if you know nothing about not nothing, but if you know the bare minimum as someone looking for a course, and you look at this, it might seem kind of dominated by companies that do kind of favor male or more male traits, especially things like IBM and Cisco and networking and logical procedures, and things need to be correct, and there's no other way of doing them, so there is no way for kind of wiggle. But then I know that if you actually get on the course, we have oh my god, the name left me. Yvonne, yeah. You have Yvonne, who worked with Cisco, and she's certified, and it kind of was like, yeah, awesome. And it kind of might make some women be like, you know what? I might have enjoyed the networking module. I mean, I don't know personally because I didn't do it. But, maybe some girls on the course are like, okay, I kind of liked it. And I have Yvonne to look up to now because she clearly has certifications and works there. I kind of want to, keep going with that. But I think maybe mentioning some other places that aren't commonplace, because I know a lot of computer science students don't go specifically for just computer science work. They could use their computer science skills in slightly different ways. For example, I mean, this is games computing, so I'm not sure what it says in the games computing course, but I know that there was a student a few years ago that was really good at games computing, but they didn't work in games. They didn't create games. They created simulations, and they created probability, stuff like that. So it's not that every single games computing student will go on and do games, and it's not that every single computer science student will go on and do something that is 100% exactly what they studied for. But yeah, I think the looking back at it, I think the mixture of careers is good, but I think looking forward on it, as if I went back and looked at it again, I would think it's kind of biased towards guys, but now that I have the hindsight of people like Yvonne, it's like, oh no, in reality anybody can do work in those jobs because, you know, she's qualified with Cisco and stuff like that. I don't know, maybe if we kind of mentioned, maybe not the fact that Yvonne is certified with Cisco, but maybe if we used kind of language that kind of simulates more like, this is for everyone, I think we'd get further that way. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I noticed that with it includes only major companies, and I know it's kind of like to be like, oh, these are the big companies that people end up going to, but I would quite like to see some smaller companies on there being like, oh, people also go to these ones, because I know it's not for everyone to go work at this massive company, and not everyone wants to do that.
Yeah, I did scroll down. The career opportunities for games computing do actually include a nice mixture. So they include big companies, so they include Electronic Arts, Rockstar, stuff like that. But they also include Team 17 and Sumo Digital. Studios that aren't as massive as EA, but they're still pretty big, and you could still get a really good career out of them. But yeah, I just looking at that, I don't know, maybe it's because they're video game companies, they feel more balanced between male and female to me. So maybe because I know what games they've created, so I know they're both male oriented and female oriented. I don't know, maybe because the computer science ones are somewhat generic, and they're just like, IBM, don't know what you could be doing there, but that's a possibility. I don't know, maybe because the games one is, these companies make games and you might be familiar with what games they have already made, that kind of can make you think, oh, okay, EA, they make a lot of the sports games, that's a male-centric thing. Or maybe Rockstar, they make things like Grand Theft Auto, that's a very male thing. But like Sumo Digital created the new Sackboy game, and that might be more creative and more female. I don't know. We might just be perpetuating the stereotypes. I'm not sure. Also, more to computer science than just trading and networking. I think if they included a nicer range from all the different like modules that we do, maybe include like specifically robotics one in there, or maybe if they include one that is a database one, or I'm not sure. As long as, I think if they included a wider range rather than just these like high office trading kind of maths and computer science companies, I think if they included a wider variety from the different modules, it would kind of also show, hey, we can do a wider range of skills. Very similar to the image, which was like, oh, they're playing with a robot. I guess they can't do anything else, or I guess that's all we can do.
Yeah, they're interesting points. It was computer science, after all, that resolved the COVID vaccine through models and simulation rather than experimental trials and that sort of stuff. So there's other things that are available here, I think, to sort of fit in. Do you find, so what we have on this page is we have an image which we know we've discussed, and then this sort of text. Do you find they're complementary, and if so, is that a negative thing, or does it perpetuate a stereotype that may be immediately apparent to us? Or do you feel there's some contradiction? Do you feel maybe, is there any points, do you think, in the text that aren't there? For instance, we have course outline, facilities research, work placement, career opportunities. Is there room for maybe another topic or conversation that would be more relevant today?
I'm not sure, like, adding a topic. I was reading, like, I looked at off on my screen and was having a quick read through. It seems very kind of individual based, like all the modules that it kind of goes, oh, these modules include, none of those are the ones that you've done a group project in. There's no like team software engineering. There's no kind of kind of showing, oh look, it's not just you on this course. You will be, doing group work and working on not only your analytical skills but your people skills. You learn to work in a team, which is very important when you go into a computer science job, because you're not going to be one lone person working on a project. You will be with a team of people. I think it'd be nice, even just like a couple of different modules, or like just a sentence in there kind of brings across that you will gain these skills you know, with these people skills, you will interact with other people in this community. It isn't just you working your way through it yourself.
Yeah, I just want to bring a point up of the one you have on the screen is the 2021 one. The 2022 one, of course, has Abigail's quote on it, but it's kind of like, this is Abby's quote, big letters, Abby's name, tiny letters, underneath 2 men. If you're just glancing at that and you're just reading the big quote, you might think they're the ones that said it, and it's like, oh, okay. They just want to raise that, like, you said it, Abby. Why is there more recognition that you're the one that said it? It kind of, if you're just glancing at it, it's like, oh, these guys said this. If you don't
you
read
have to look
if you don't read
closely.
the tiny writing underneath saying Abigail Smith, it's like you wouldn't notice it was a woman saying it.
Yeah, you'd think they'd want a little bit more of, look, it's a girl said this, a girl on our course. You know, it's a female name, kind of make it a bit more obvious that, and kind of put that out there. But
yeah, I suppose what I was thinking, I mean, they could always add something about how they're in the process of encouraging girls to get into science, maybe. So, like, you know, at the bottom they always have like a little fact that says like computer science at Lincoln is ranked in the top 10 in the UK for learning resources. You know, they could maybe have a little fact that talks about the Athena Swan and that sort of thing, and the ways in which they're trying to progress to improve equality. Maybe that's something that could be included, or is that being counterproductive? Is that saying that, well, there is a problem with getting girls into it, and maybe that would actually discourage girls from wanting to do it?
It's a very fine balancing game.
Yeah.
So this has been a really great conversation, guys, and I think I'd like to sort of I know it's been about an hour now, just over an hour, and we've talked about a lot of things, and it's a tricky subject to talk about because there's so many nuances to it and whatnot. So I really thank you for that. But you know, do you you know, just to, I suppose, as a final question, we mentioned ways to maybe improve this context. One of the topics that was mentioned by yourself, Abigail, was teams. I'm interested in Lucy, Susanna. Is teamwork something that is important to mention on these on this text? Is that something that we miss on? That's something that would be more welcoming to a neutral cohort rather than historically perceived isolated individuals working on their own specific individual tasks?
I think that it's a definite. When I joined the university, I didn't expect any teamwork. I expected head down, do programming, finish course. That's what I expected. I expected just, you have to do everything on your own. There's no teamwork, you know. This is just modules of programming and work. And because I kind of just glossed over the modules. But also I mostly focused on the game modules more than the overall computer science modules, just because that's the kind of topic I was more interested in. I was like, as long as the game modules are very interesting to me, I think I'll be okay with doing some of the modules that might not be as interesting to me, and I didn't really give them a second chance. So in first year when we did problem solving, and then first year semester B we did the I'm not sure, I don't remember which module it was, but we did that calculator that calculated votes in the European Union. I don't remember what module that was, but we had to work as a team for that. And then, of course, this year we have team software engineering. Every single semester we've had a team-based activity and a team-based module. So I think definitely mentioning that is something that happens, and maybe, I don't know, slipping in that the teams might be randomized, therefore you will have a wide range of experiences and knowledge, and, you know, maybe not go down like deep enough to be like different genders and ethnicities and stuff like that, because of course that can't be guaranteed. Because it's random, sometimes you will just get a group of nothing but guys. But I think definitely saying that, because the teams, at least for my year, were randomized. I don't know how it was for the other years. because the groups were randomized, you will therefore have a wide range of experiences to talk about, and there'll be a lot of different knowledge bases to kind of grab from to then make it better for you to work as a team. I think that's something that definitely needs to be addressed. I mean, I know that the school doesn't, you know, they don't have control over what the prospectus page looks like. They have to fill out certain, you know, things to fit with what the university wants it to look like. But I think definitely just dropping in that there is team-based modules and you will get to work as a team, and it's a very important skill to learn to then take on with you further towards possible careers, because team software engineering, almost every lecture we're reminded of in you know, in the career paths that you're going to take in the industry, you will have to work as a team, and we're reminded of that constantly. But it kind of looks here like the most you're going to do is work in pairs. That's what it kind of looks like to me.
No, yeah, I just wanted to mention, because yeah, it's really important to have more to do with that we are working in teams, but also just the fact that, well, I know not really at the moment, but just working in workshops and just being around everyone and getting that help from each other. So although you're not working in a team, you're still like working with others, you still have that interaction that, yeah, isn't really shown on it.
Mm.
So, guys, it's been really great having this conversation with you. Again, it's a difficult conversation to have because it's tricky and it's complex and there's lots of nuances, and there's so many subtleties that it's difficult to tease out, and they're probably an hour's conversation on their own, just one or two subtleties. So Abigail, Susanna, Emma, Lucy, I really thank you for taking the time out to spend and share your thoughts on this. There's opened my eyes on lots of different things, and I look forward to preparing with you guys the recommendations, but more importantly, in a sense, looking forward to the third roundtable, which will be next month, and meeting you all again there. So thank you, guys.
Thank you again for engaging us. It's definitely very interesting to be able to offer this insight and stuff.